Throughout his 6-decade-spanning career in show business, Tim Conway appeared in more than 100 TV shows and films. Some of his most memorable roles included playing the hapless Ensign Parker in McHale's Navy and several recurring iconic characters on The Carol Burnett Show. For his work on that program, he won 4 Emmys. On several occasions, he was given his own TV show. In 1970, he teamed up with his old McHale's Navy co-star Joe Flynn to create The Tim Conway Show. He went on to host the variety shows The Tim Conway Comedy Hour and The Tim Conway Comedy House. Later in 1980, he was given another one-hour variety series titled once again The Tim Conway Show. It lasted longer than any of the previous ones and wrapped up in August of 1981. Over the years, he did a ton of voiceover work in animated series like Scooby-Doo, The Simpsons, and The Proud Family. Younger viewers might know he provided the voice of Barnacle Boy in SpongeBob SquarePants. He was diagnosed with dementia in 2018, caused by a condition known as normal pressure hydrocephalus. On May 14, 2019, complications from this condition led to his death at 85. It's been 3 years or so since Conway's passing, but we're still learning unsettling details of his last couple years alive. Facts First presents Tim Conway's daughter reveals the sad truth of his final days. Conway's career. Thomas Daniel Tim Conway was born December 15, 1933, in Willoughby, Ohio. He grew up in the nearby town of Chagrin Falls in Cuyahoga County. His father Daniel was a groomer for polo ponies, while his mother Sophia was a homemaker. Conway majored in television and radio at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. After graduating, he enlisted in the Army and served his country from 1956 to 58. After being discharged, he found work in the Cleveland, Ohio NBC affiliate station KYW-TV. During that time, he got to work alongside famed TV and radio personality Ernie Anderson. Conway got into comedy when he began writing and performing routines between morning movies on CBS. He was eventually discovered by Rose Marie and became a regular guest on the Steve Allen Plymouth Show. In 1962, he earned true fame while starring as Ensign Charles Parker in McHale's Navy. He went on to seek further success in a series of shows that ended up failing, including 1969's short-lived Turn On. Embarrassingly, that series was given the axe after 1 episode. It's said the network didn't even want to bring it back after the first commercial break. Conway went on to be given his own show, The Tim Conway Show, in 1970, but that series was also canceled after only 12 episodes. His biggest career success, however, were his many performances on The Carol Burnett Show, portraying characters like Mister Tudball and The Old Man. Although he's widely thought of as being a regular on the series, he actually only became a regular performer in 1975. Conway eventually shifted gears, appearing in several films, including The Apple Dumpling Gang, The Prize Fighter, and The Private Eyes. In his later years, he made many more film and TV appearances. In the 80s, Conway developed the character Dorf, who first appeared in the 1987 short film Dorf on Golf. The character spoke with a Swedish accent similar to the one Mister Tudball spoke with on The Carol Burnett Show. He was about as tall as a 5-year-old child. His height was achieved by standing in a hole with fake shoes attached to Conway's knees. Because of this, Dorf was always seen standing in one place. Conway and his co-stars Vincent Schiavelli and Michelle Smith made 8 short films featuring Dorf. Conway could no longer care for himself. Conway was married twice, first to Mary Ann Dalton from 1961 to 78, and later to Charlene Fusco from 1984 until his death. Throughout those 2 marriages, Conway had 7 children. He and his first wife had 6. With his second wife, he became stepfather to her daughter, Jacqueline. When Conway passed away in 2019, Charlene didn't bother to call Tim's daughter, Kelly, to deliver the news. This snub came as no surprise to Kelly, as she had been battling Charlene in court over her father's conservatorship and his access to caregivers and doctors. Ultimately, even though it was established that Charlene had been treating Conway negligently, a judge ended up ruling against Kelly, and mediation was implemented that allowed for her to have visitation rights. This heartbreaking ordeal was documented in Kelly's memoir, My Dad's Funnier Than Your Dad, Growing Up with Tim Conway in the Funniest House in America. The book details everything from Kelly's blissful childhood to the bitter dispute with Charlene over Conway's rapidly deteriorating health in his final days. Kelly told Page 6 in 2021 that the battle with her stepmother was tragic because things could have easily played out very differently. Kelly insists that instead of all the drama and vitriol, her dealings with Charlene could have been substantially calmer. Kelly says that before her dad became ill, she enjoyed a warm relationship with her stepmom. She had a deep love for her since she loved her father so much. He likewise loved her immensely, and they seemed so happy together. As such, Kelly didn't see anything wrong with the relationship. Kelly's relationship with Charlene, however, began to deteriorate over small things like the type of food she would bring over when Tim first got sick. Kelly alleges she used to visit her father and bring him things like sandwiches, but Charlene would always throw them in the garbage because she wanted to be the one to make him food. While that might sound quite petty, Kelly insists that things only escalated from there. Apparently, at some point, Charlene decided that after having a positive relationship with Kelly for over 3 decades, she'd reverse course and do everything in her power to keep her from her husband and not let her be involved in his health care. Kelly has revealed that she hasn't spoken to Charlene since her father's funeral, and that even then, she wasn't sure that she and her siblings were going to be invited to attend. The Conway siblings ended up throwing a reception after the funeral at a pizza joint that Tim always loved, not far from where they grew up. According to Kelly, that event ended up being better than the actual funeral since Charlene wasn't there to make everyone feel uncomfortable. Kelly now works as a hairstylist in LA. When asked why she decided to write her memoir, she explained that the number one question she gets asked when people find out who her father was what it was like to grow up in that household. In the book, she explains she had a fantastic childhood because it was a bunch of fun and games. She even describes her upbringing as, quote, the best childhood ever. Kelly is fully aware that people will react to the contents of her memoir by accusing her of attempting to take control of her father's finances, but she insists that was never the case. According to her, the only reason why she was seeking to gain control of the conservatorship was to help her father. She claims her main goal was to let the doctors help him suffer less. In fact, she claims that when she sought to take conservatorship, she asked that no money pass through her hands, and that all financial issues be taken care of through his accountants and lawyers. To this day, she swears she wanted nothing to do with his money. One of Kelly's first goals was to have her father moved back home so he could be in familiar surroundings and not have a new doctor poking and prodding at him every 20 minutes. She says she wanted to keep his suffering to a minimum. If he was able to be at home, perhaps he would be spared some of the complications and heartbreak of what he was going through. Regardless, that never happened, and Kelly says she still doesn't understand why. Following his death, numerous stars and actors paid tribute to Conway, including Dick Van Dyke, Ben Stiller, Ed Asner, Patton Oswalt, and more. Conway's longtime close friend Bob Newhart put out a heartfelt statement saying the world lost one of the greatest comedians and that he and his wife will miss him greatly. Carol Burnett likewise released a statement saying how heartbroken she was to hear of Conway's passing. She went on to say he would be in her heart forever. While the entertainment world came out in full force to express their condolences following Conway's death, nothing compares to the grief experienced by his children and wife. Charlene and Kelly might not see things eye to eye, and their relationship may never recover, but there is no questioning whether or not they both deeply loved Tim. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that Tim Conway's daughter Kelly fought his wife Charlene in court over his conservatorship? Let us know in the comments section below.